Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Fight the spread and take a stand against coronavirus. Wear a mask in public. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others. And get tested. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/COVID-19.
Hey, good Thursday afternoon to you. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you in part by SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities. Also, Agape Counseling and Training Centers. If you're having some challenges coping with COVID, please contact Agape Counseling and Training Center. We're also glad to have as a sponsor Columbia Housing Authority and Palmetto Media Connections. Well, today we're talking about discrimination, the what, when, how to report discrimination, and how to tell if you've been a victim of discrimination. Leading the conversation are two experts in the field. We're going to talk today to Julian Williams. He is the brand new VP of Diversity and Inclusion at the University of South Carolina, and attorney Sharika Robinson. Her practice in Charlotte also specializes in these types of cases. One of her clients will also try to join us later. That's next on Coping with COVID. Thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Tre.
Absolutely. But first, our COVID community updates. Bethune Elementary School will close because only 55 students signed up for face-to-face learning. The Kershaw County School Board made the decision yesterday and said those students who do want in-person schooling can attend Midway Elementary School if parents agree. Officials say the school may reopen at a later date. You'll be able to go back to the movies today. AMC says they'll open over 100 theaters and offer 15-cent tickets to kick it off. AMC says more will open next month and that they will limit seating, spread out show times, and encourage social distancing. Masks are required for employees and moviegoers, plus hand sanitizers and wipes will be located throughout the theaters. Another movie chain, Regal, plans to reopen tomorrow. They'll have similar plans, but say there will be no refills on soda and popcorn. Both AMC and Regal have South Carolina locations opening today and tomorrow. And there is a recall on a popular Super Soaker. Check your kids' toy box to see if they have the Hasbro Nerf Super Soaker XP20 and XP30. You'll see it right there. The toys sold at Target between March and July of this year have too much lead, exceeding the federal limit. If you do have them, do not allow your children to use them. Contact Hasbro. You can see that information on the screen. Contact Hasbro for refund information. SCDHEC has the most up-to-date information on times, dates, and locations for COVID testing in and around South Carolina. Again, check the bottom of the screen. Those times, dates, and locations will be scrolling throughout the show. But there is COVID testing tomorrow in South Carolina from 8 a.m. until 12 noon at 2204 Lee Street in Columbia. Also, Marion Medical Center in Mullins. Tomorrow in Camden at Kershaw Mental Health from 8:30 until 12:45, and from 8 a.m. until 1, several locations, Right Direction Church in Orangeburg and Old Mount Zion Church in Orangeburg, plus the Urology Surgery Center Center in West Columbia. From 9 until 1 at Refuge Temple in Columbia. From 9 until 2 at the Lancaster Health Department in Lancaster. And also in Orangeburg from 9 until 4 at Family Medicine. Check the bottom of the screen for more information also about organizing a COVID screening at your event or in your community. The DHEC Care Line has more information. The number is also scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you need more information about a COVID screening or if you need transportation. Also, the free meal giveaway for students in Columbia, that's going on through August the 28th from 12:30 until 1:30. Several parks in the city of Columbia are participating. Again, please check the bottom of the screen for information on that. The Black Lives Matter petition still needs your signature. If you're interested, again, that information will be scrolling throughout the show at the bottom of the screen. The new Soul Survey, we talked to those folks earlier this week. They're looking for men and women, but specifically men between the ages of 18 and 65 with no heart disease. They want to teach you how to eat healthy, how to shop healthy, how to live a healthy life. Plus, you'll get 2 free meals or 1 free meal a week at Rare Variety Cafe. Go to newsoul.org for info. As a matter of fact, Saturday, we're going to do the show from Rare Variety Cafe. I can't wait for that, and I look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget the Mask Up Columbia, South Carolina contest is still going on now. All you have to do is go to maskupcolumbiasc.com. Post a picture of yourself in your mask, get your family and friends to like it, and you could win some cool prizes from the city of Columbia. That's maskupcolumbiasc.com. Finally, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities is doing another webinar, this one about safety and workforce development opportunities in construction. It's August 20th. It is a free webinar, and you can log on to Eventbrite to sign up for that. You're watching Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. I am Tre Tailor, and please don't forget to go over to my professional page, Tailor Made Productions. That's the home of Coping with COVID, and like and follow that page so that you can check out Coping with COVID Monday through Saturday at 2 p.m., and you can get all of your COVID-related updates. We're actually streaming live on the Tailor Made Production page and also on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tre Tailor, and today Julian Williams is the VP of Diversity and Inclusion at the University of South Carolina. He joins us today along with Sharika Robinson, who is a well-respected, accomplished attorney and is notorious in the courts, they say, for challenging unfair and unjust treatment for her clients and ensuring justice for those who seek, deserve, and earn it. Thank you both so much for joining us today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having us. I think we're we're looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, I'm so excited about this conversation. I just met the two of you on another panel a couple of weeks ago for the Richland County Democratic Party. And because of that, I just wanted to get you guys in here to talk about some things. But first, Julian, because you're new to the city, I want to talk to you first. You are VP, and this is a new position, VP of Diversity and Inclusion at the University of South Carolina. Tell me about that position.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely humbled because I have I'm the first person to serve in this role, and it's not something that I take lightly. So, serving as a senior leader, as one of the vice presidents on the executive team here at the University of South Carolina, responsible for looking at our policies, how accessible we are, particularly in South Carolina, as we think about Black and African American students and their pipeline and ability to get to the university, but also then thinking about our faculty and staff and making sure that they have that we have an inclusive culture here at the university. We know that in South Carolina, we have to center the Black experience, at least in my opinion. But we also know that diversity is an all-encompassing, very wide-ranging term. And we want to be a campus where anyone, regardless of race, background, gender, can come, learn, work, live, and feel affirmed. And, we have some work to do, but I'm excited to be a part of this new leadership team. We have a new president. We have the first Black provost in the SEC, Mr. Bill Tate, who joined us from Washington University in St. Louis. So I'm just excited about this sort of, I think, a new moment here at the University of South Carolina, and excited to be on the team and get to work.
Yeah, that is so exciting because, USC has a long-standing history of being, the main college university, not only in the South or in South Carolina, but nationwide. And a large number of African Americans attend the school. Do you know what those numbers are, Julian?
So yeah, right now we have about 9% of our undergraduate population is almost 10%. So it usually comes out around 10,000, 7 to 10,000 students. But our president has a goal to bring that number up to the percentage of African Americans in the population in South Carolina, which is about 27%.
Wow.
So he's tasked me with leading those efforts and working with our admissions office and other folks across campus to create sort of pipelines, getting into K through 12 and our middle and high schools in the state. And in my opinion, we've got to focus there. I think our state needs us. I think we are an institution where the first Black students had to sue this university to get there. So what would it look like to then be the most accessible university in this state for African American students? And really also what we want to do is partner with our HBCUs. They have taken on, in my opinion, the responsibility for educating the Black South Carolinians.
For years.
For decades. And what we want to do is not to take students away from them, but how do we expand the pie and have more college eligible African American students in the state, partner with them from a graduate's perspective, because we may have graduate programs that aren't offered at some of our HBCUs. So how do we create partnerships there? But what it's really about is, in my opinion, the flagship university in the state of South Carolina, serving the state differently and better. I think that's what I'm excited to do and lead in my role.
That is so exciting, Julian. And, I would love for you to come back on the show and really kind of talk about what the plan is to really do that outreach for African-American or minority students. And whatever I can do personally and professionally, I would love to help, because it is so very important. Like you said, not to take away from HBCUs, but not only, and you tell me if I'm right, not only to recruit students, but then to make sure students on that campus have a welcoming and fair experience.
Yes, and I think it's about that. How are we affirming the students that we do have? How do we support them in those ways? And I think about this. I'm not from South Carolina. I'm from Michigan, but I'm a first generation student, a student from a very sort of low socioeconomic background. But when I got to the University of Michigan as an undergraduate, it was a struggle, but I was able to find the community. And I think for students here, how do we create community, connect them with faculty that are going to mentor them and be there as supports? And I think we've got something special here at the University of South Carolina. We've got to then also reckon with our past and reckon with where we've fallen short. And I think that's what I'm excited about leading, is to lead a culture change at this university through my efforts, through my office, and through also connecting with folks like you, Tre, that are in the community that can help move those efforts forward as well.
Yeah, we are talking to Julian Williams. He's the new VP, brand new position. He's the first ever of diversity and inclusion at the University of South Carolina. Attorney Sharika Robinson is in Charlotte. She's also joins us. She's a well-respected, highly accomplished attorney. Want you to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. I know not only some USC alum, but some folks who are wondering about discrimination at their jobs and in their schools. So let's get this information out. I want to say hi to Tasha Nicole, who says, hello. Hey there, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. So, Sharika, I know that these are the types of cases that you routinely represent. Tell me first, how do you even know that you are being discriminated against? Because I think it's a fine line. Is it just a joke? Am I super sensitive? Or do I really have to be concerned? Your mic is on mute. There you go. I think it's still muted. There you go. I think you're good now.
All right. That's a very good question. Discrimination is so implicit right now. It can be a look, it can be a way of treating you. I've had people who've had their hair touched. So they're in the workplace and touches their hair.
Yeah.
It violates a person in their personal space. But the only reason that they're gravitating towards that is because of, the texture.
Right. Sharika, I just want to stop you there for a minute because that is so interesting. I hear people of color say that all the time. Why are they touching my hair?
You're not a pet. That's what I tell them. You're not a pet. You come to me, you're not a pet. They want to touch their hair, they're gonna have to pay for it. But
and I think that's where, sometimes we think about discrimination that it has to be, I didn't get this job or I didn't get this opportunity, but it can be those actions. And you think about that over time, that can create a hostile environment.
Yes.
And I give, all props to Sharika because when I finished law school, I practiced employment law. I practiced civil rights law in Michigan for about 5 years and was sort of plaintiff focused, just like she is. And in my opinion, that's the real legal work. That's the work that people need. And then I transitioned to working in higher education. So definitely give all props.
Let me tell you this, Julian, too. And Trey, I started out as a corporate attorney. So I've clerked. You probably know Judge Keith because you were in Michigan.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm a Keith clerk.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So for people who don't know a Keith clerk, Judge Keith he was on the bench for about 40 years. He went 60, maybe even 60. He went up against Nixon. He integrated busing in Michigan, the first judge who did that. Judge Keith did not care your skin tone, whatever. He was proud. He actually he went to Howard University and he started out as a janitor, turned lawyer, turned district court, and then Sixth Circuit judge, one step down from the Supreme Court. And that's who groomed me, really. And Victoria Roberts, she's a district court judge. So I got groomed by some of the best and the most, I don't even want to call them activists. They just did what was right.
Right.
That's all that they required of me every day. When I walked into their mentorship and into their tutorship, was to do what was right. That's all that I had to do.
Right.
And so you see Julian shaking his head. that is it. It was a standard. It's like when you tell your child what you want them to do.
Right.
That is it. It's not about being popular, about being great. They just want you to do what's right. So I kind of grew up with that direction and that mentorship and that commitment to, our people.
Right.
I told you I work for corporate. So I just sometimes you just want to make money. Right. Yeah. I want to make some money. So
you got to pay back all those school loans, girl. So
yeah. Yeah, that's what I did. I went and I said, I'm going to make some money. And then, you sometimes, the spirit brings you back to your core. Yeah. It brought me right back to civil rights.
Yeah. Sierra says I'm sorry, we have a comment. Sierra says that she was told by a manager on a job while wearing her natural hair that her hair looked better straight. Mm-hmm. Now, was that discrimination? Do you think that's discrimination, or is that the beginning of what could be discrimination?
Yeah, I'll let Sharika handle that. Go ahead.
I like to, when I talk to clients, what I want to know is what did they go in there looking like? Mm-hmm. Because, the hair has been the center of who we are. Right. For so many decades. And I told you I have a 22-year-old and she's all natural, but she had to transition that way. I had to support her.
Mm-hmm.
But in thinking about her transition, I also told her that she was going to face certain discriminatory practices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that. And that's what I mean by support.
Yeah.
So and this is what I told her. You have to be unapologetically and authentically who you are at the outset, at the very beginning. And then I'll support you. So what I see is the trend that I see with clients is when they shift, because the majority they don't necessarily know who they're dealing with.
Right.
And if they know they're dealing with a strong person and who is committed to those values at the beginning, then they can tolerate it.
Right.
A little.
Sierra says, to add more context, she said they had a look they wanted for the girls to have. My question would be, they hired her without that look. So how can you hire someone that looks like they look, and then once you hire them, you say, well, I want you to change your look?
Well, and I think that's where you see, states like New York and California passing laws against discrimination based on hair, which we know drastically affects us as Black people, and even more Black women.
Yeah.
So I think that comment by itself may not lead to a lawsuit, but imagine that over time, or imagine that being used as a reason why you don't get a promotion or your hours are being cut, or those sorts of things. Exactly. Sharika speaking as the practicing attorney amongst the group. So
I told them, there's no way you can't be a nice racist in my point of view.
Right. And here's my other thing about that, because here lately we see so much blatant, to me, racism, sexism, genderism, if that's a word. And then the people who say those things and do those things immediately say, oh, I'm sorry, it didn't mean anything, and it's not who I was. And I think people expect you just to say, okay, and then just move on. Well, it's easy to apologize after you've said what you said, knowing that what you said is what you said. you know, I mean,
So this is my grandmother always had a saying, anything that comes out your mouth is intended. It's intended. And so you don't get to say something that's very violative and hurtful to somebody else and then retract it because you meant it.
Right. And it's already out there now.
It's out there. And so the best thing you can do is tailor your mouth.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had to learn that very, early on. And even when I think about, these cases and opposing counsel and things like that, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Because like you said, once it's out there, it's out.
Right.
So nobody gets to say anything, Trey, and not be accountable for it.
Yeah. Attorney Sharika Robinson joins us. Also, Julian Williams. He's a VP of Diversion and Inclusion at USC. So, Julian, let me ask you, what about in the school setting? What is it that students should look out for to feel that they've been discriminated against?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks, the contexts are actually very similar at a university. We have thousands of employees. We have 30,000 students. So I think it's important that students understand their rights. I think it's important that students, if you feel that something is happening, then you talk to somebody, whether it's the department chair. We have an office of equal opportunity programs that investigates these types of issues as they're brought up. But in some of it comes out, as we were talking about, what comes out of people's mouths. You've had faculty members, and I've seen, and not here at USC, but at other places, where faculty members are making comments that we would consider discriminatory, just heinous, and because they don't understand some of the student faculty boundaries, or they're just not great teachers. And I think we've got to think of, I always am telling students to sort of try to brush themselves up on their rights. And also, if you feel like you have to tell somebody that things are happening, and go to the office of that investigates these things, and go from there, because I think that's important, that as these things are happening, I think us as Black people, we've got conditioned to just accept them.
Yeah.
And I think we have to bring that forward internally, but also if it doesn't work out internally, there's folks like Sharika that can take other steps as well. And I know on the call that we had with previously, these are not easy cases. I know Sharika would say that. I remember from practicing, these were not easy cases, but we've got to bring them forward, because under the law, people have rights, and we've got to make sure that we're taking advantage.
But Julian, and that's by design.
Yes,
it's by design. Anytime that you're going to stand up and advocate for yourself, it's an emotional process, but also there are certain roadblocks that it's a systematic block. So it's by design. And that's why, I feel blessed to have the federal clerkship experience and the mentorship that I've had, because not everybody can say that, but not everybody can deal with those roadblocks. And that was my calling, to come back and make sure that, people who look like me have a voice, because how many times you hear people say they just gonna struggle. They're gonna deal with it. They're not going to say anything because they don't want to lose their job. They don't even know that thought process is actually interfering with money that they could be receiving and their job. If you never say anything, then you never gave your employer notice. You never gave your employer an opportunity to rectify the situation, and therefore you have no claim. Like, I can't even begin to help you.
Yeah.
If you never said anything. So this suffering and silence, that which we were taught and thought that we needed to do, has worked so against us. The laws are in place to work against us, our thought processes.
Smarell Nicole Brown joins us from Charlotte. Hey, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. We're talking to Julian Williams. He is the new VP of Inclusion and Diversity at the University of South Carolina. And Sharika Robinson is a highly respected and accomplished attorney in Charlotte, North Carolina. She works on these types of cases. So, Sharika, Julian says that in a student setting, in a school setting, if you feel like something's just not quite right, there are offices, there are people in place on these campuses that you can talk to. If you're in a work environment, do you go to HR first, or do you go to the person who you think is offending you first? No, absolutely. So if we're talking about discriminatory practices, what you don't want to seem as an angry Black woman, I would never suggest that you confront somebody, or the angry Black man. HR is there for a reason. I think that, a lot of what I see with people of color is that they want to, you want that moment, that confrontational moment, but it's not about that moment, right? It's long term. You got to look long.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You got to win in the long game.
Right. And it's easy to respond. If somebody hurts your feelings or hurts your pride, and here's the other thing. Sometimes you don't want to seem like you are cowering down to them, but I do believe sometimes the lack of our voice, silence is power. There's power in silence,
Yes. So. You said it. Be silent. Let them, and then they're going to speak louder. Because that's what bullies do. That's what they do. People who are truly discriminatory and racist, when they see that they've affected you, they're going to continue. They're going to continue.
And I think, I'm sure we've all experienced that, even in our own professional lives, on what that looked like, and had to develop our own coping mechanisms. I remember I'm always extremely cognizant of how I'm going to be perceived professionally.
Yeah.
So I have to be, I don't have the freedom to get angry. I've seen folks that I've worked with get really upset, curse, bang, yell, and do. And I know I can't do that. Like, so it was interesting. I was having a colleague who I won't name at another job that I won't name, but we were having a meeting and it was getting contentious. But I was kind of talking to her like I am now, and she was like, "Oh, well, Julian, I see you're getting really angry." And I was like, "No, I'm not, because that is only her and I in this room." And I had to make sure that because the last thing I want to happen is this person leaves this room and, Julian, presents this image of me unprofessionally that isn't happening.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
it's that direct confrontation isn't always work out on our behalf. So I always encourage folks, write stuff down, get really good at journaling, get really good at writing things in email to say,
it's called a recollection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's I always, if you think that's happening, then if you had a meeting with somebody and they said something really, write them back and hey, just following up on an email, and I didn't like the way you said this, and this, and then watch what happens. So, I think we have to be smart. And then those are things that folks can take to folks like Sharika if it doesn't get resolved internally, but they can say, hey, this is how I tried to resolve this, or this is how HR didn't respond to what I was bringing forward. And then it helps along the lines as well as we're talking about sort of playing that long game.
But Julian, you said something else that I think is so important. You said you had to say back to the lady, no, I'm not getting upset, because you didn't think you were getting upset, but it's almost like people have to say it to either push you to then blow up, or for their own thought to think, oh, yes, they are getting, and you had to say, no, I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not getting it. So it's almost like repeating what the reality is from your standpoint. And I think that's big too, for the other person to hear you say, no, I'm not offended. I'm not getting upset. I don't care about what you're saying. I don't believe what you're saying. You know what I mean? You have to almost say it back to them for it to click to them.
And it's hard. It requires a lot of emotional intelligence, especially when you're angry. It's not easy. Like I wish it, but I think in these situations we have to be smarter, and I think utilize the rights that are in front of us. You can, so if you take that sort of information to somebody like Sharika, you're helping. You're going to end up helping yourself down the line when she can represent you and you haven't had the restraining order filed against you because you went off at the job. Now, right, you probably had the right to do so, but that just makes things it makes it a little more difficult.
That's right. Like Sharika said, you end up being the angry black man, the angry black woman. Now they have pigeonholed you into this box that, folks want you to be in.
Well, and what I try to tell clients is, don't crawl into a space that you didn't design for yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you design that space, then by all means go ahead. But if I'm upset, it's by my choosing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you that power or that control over me. And I don't want clients to give people that power over them, because that's what it's intended to do. It's all by design. These institutions are all by design. So, but Trey, you were asking about what people can do.
Right. And I'm going to come back. I want to come back after the break and talk about that. Michelle Harris says, as a graduate of U of SC, she says she's so glad to see the progress and growth in hiring. She says, welcome, Julius. And Sierra has another question, but we're going to come right back because I want to piggyback on what you were getting ready to say is what people can do. That's what I want to talk about when we come back from break. What people can do, how they can do it, and when. When is the right time to go to you, Sharika, or to go to the next step if they feel discriminated against? We're going to come right back and talk about that with Julian Williams, VP of Diversity and Inclusion at U of SC, and also attorney Sharika Robinson. That's coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
I can't even get through with it on this.
Oh, is that your client? Is that your client, Sharika? Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to have her on. If she can try to get on, we'll definitely bring her up into the stream, Sharika. We're talking to attorney Sharika Robinson. She has a law firm in Charlotte where she works with the courts challenging unfair and unjust treatment for her clients and ensuring justice for those who seek, deserve, and earn it. And Julian Williams is the brand new VP of Diversity and Inclusion at the University of South Carolina. We're talking about discrimination. And when we left, Sharika, you were just getting ready to share with us. I think Ms. Riggins is trying to come in here, and we're going to bring her in just a minute. As soon as we can get her in, we'll bring her in just a minute. But we do have a question. Jeffrey Johnson wants to know, Sharika, is there a time limit on discrimination, on filing? You're on mute, Sharika.
Absolutely. Yep. There is a time limit. So everything has, so there's you have 180 days from the last act to file a claim of discrimination with the EEOC, and things that fall under Title VII. This is what people don't know too. So I filed Section 1981 claims. 1981 has a 4-year statute of limitations. Mm-hmm. Claims under Title VII have 180 days. You have to go through the EEOC. But because if you're discriminated against because you are Black or some other unconstitutional process, I will file those claims also. And I do them even if it's a conspiracy. Sometimes I get Black people or people, just minorities who come and we know when something's happening and when they're working against us, can't put the finger on it. Mm-hmm. But will come and sound kind of, just all out crazy. They doing this, they doing that. And I say, who is they? Who are they? Who are they? What are you talking about? Right. But, then we have Section 1985 that protects us against conspiracies because the law exists such that to acknowledge the fact that institutions of racism don't work in isolation. They do not work alone. And, you just have to be willing to identify that the documentation. And when it comes down to employment situations, a lot of times I've even had people who have been blocked from future employment.
Wow.
Yeah, and have the proof. They send emails to one another.
Yeah, you would be surprised about the stuff that folks will put in an email, which is why, so, yep.
Yeah. Well, one of Sharika's clients is joining us. Joyce Riggin is joining us. Miss Riggin, I don't see her we've got her in the stream, but I don't see her. I think she's frozen. She's frozen again. Can you tell us a little bit
about that client?
Yeah, can you tell me us a little bit about her?
Mm-hmm. So, Miss Riggin is a client. She stood up to an institution of racism in the South, deep South in North Carolina, and because in her case is like wicked, the things that they have done to her. She stood up to them, and I went to one hearing where the judge told me, "You sued my whole town."
Well, tell us about what happened with her. What's the backstory for her?
The backstory is that Miss Riggin, she has a good friend of hers, and her good friend was taken for her life's estate at her old age. And in that case, I by an attorney. So I sued the attorney. I sued the people who took her property. I sued the bank that gave away her banking information. We sued everybody. And in the process, her friend passed away. And these attorneys have been nothing. They have been like, I've seen some nasty attorneys, but these attorneys have been accusatory. They have attacked Miss Riggin. They have demeaned her. They exposed her business information along with her picture and her bank account information. Mm. So, and I said, why do you need to expose her picture, her home address, and her business address? If other than they're trying to incite discriminatory practices in this climate. And so she suffered a lot as a person who did nothing but try to help her friend.
Mm-hmm. So what's going on with the case now, Sharika? Because it's two cases. It's the original case with the friend, and then this is the case with Miss Riggins.
Right. It's going. I can tell you this case in 3 months we had about 80, 90 docket entries. You know what that means, Julian. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. So at this point, Miss Riggin has tried to open up an estate. There has been a change of venue, right? So judges have recused themselves.
Wow.
And volunteered a change of venue, which means it goes to a new county. Mm-hmm. And then there has been a recusal of the new judge in the new court, the whole court system, because they sent it back.
So basically, in lay terms, because you may be talking over some folks' heads, basically what you're saying is every time you've tried to get it in court, the judge has said, I don't want anything to do with this, take it someplace else. And then when you take it someplace else, that judge says, I don't want anything to do with it, take it someplace else.
Take it someplace else.
Yeah.
And then this is what they said.
This is why justice takes so long. This is why you need a good attorney, because and this is why a lot of times folks don't pursue the rights that they have.
Right.
Because a lot of times it looks like this. Go ahead, Sharika. I'm sorry.
Wow. No, but thank you for jumping in, Julian, because it's good to know and to hear that this is a worthwhile process, but sit back and get a drink, because it's going to take a minute.
And I think that's the hardest part for folks. One is sometimes finding an attorney that will take a case that is not going to need a hefty $5,000-$10,000 retainer. But then too, a lot of times folks they might be out of work during this time, or like Sharika mentioned, struggle to find work, because if you're working in an industry or an area, employers will, or former employers will, make it hard to for folks to get work. So, I mean, I think this is why I always say the work that Sharika and folks like her are doing is the actual legal work. It's easy to represent a corporation and you've got millions of dollars on your side and you can just sit there all day there, and that's easy. But when you can take somebody that literally may not have the resources and work them through the justice system, like that's what it's designed to do. It's true legal work, in my opinion, but unfortunately it is not easy. And I think the roadblocks that Sharika's talking about make it even tougher.
It's you know what, Julian and Trey, I have evolved because, I went from Detroit, and those Detroit judges, Roberts and Key, who put so much of their spirit in me to only go corporate, right? And then in corporate America, I was washed out. And you can feel it. It's a feeling. You can't identify it, but you definitely can feel when you're not working to your maximum capacity and when you're being, underdeveloped. Right. And so I could feel myself dying, spiritually. And it wasn't because of me. It really wasn't. When you got to walk into those environments, you have to deal with the stresses that come with it. And then you got to find a way. I say you got to find a way to come out of it. I can tell you that I've represented corporate clients and I've represented plaintiffs. So defendants and plaintiffs. And they each come with their own, stressors. Yeah. But nothing feels more better than representing somebody who has been wronged. Nothing. Right. I'll take those people all day, every day, even if they call me all day long. Email.
Well, and you know what, because you have the reputation, of taking care of this. And because, Julian, I said this to Sharika offline, that she's got the heart for this. And you said this, she's got the heart for it. And not to mention, she's got the experience. But, sometimes we are supposed to do a thing in life. And if we can ever key into what God's purpose is for us, man.
Well, Trey, that's the funny thing. I said, I could be running away from a fight. Really, I could be with my back. I'm running away. Somehow somebody gonna grab they might get my ponytail, something. They're gonna get me. They're gonna and I'm gonna be part of that fight. Even though I'm trying not to, I'll try my best. Yeah. And that has been me as a little child. And so I just said, let me embrace it. Yes. Yes. And then when I meet with clients, I always tell them I have a 54-year-old woman who I'm representing, and this case took me down for about 2 days. 6 police officers beat her down.
Oh my gosh!
It's unbelievable. I had to look at the video. I had to look at the bruises on her body. How do you treat somebody like that?
Right. A 54-year-old woman who I'm sure 6 police officers, one 54-year-old woman. Come on.
Right. A black woman. Black woman. Let me say that.
Chanel Serena says that she can relate. Thank you, Chanel, so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Attorney Sharika Robinson joined us. Julian Williams is also here. He is the brand new VP of Inclusion and Diversity at the University of South Carolina. We've got 10 minutes, guys. And I tell you, time flies when you're having a good conversation. But Sharika and Julian, just kind of wrap up what people need to do. Okay, so if you've been discriminated against, if you know, or if you even have an inkling, first talk to somebody. In the school setting, Julian, you said there are people in place that you can talk to. And Sharika, in the public setting, go to HR. If you don't get what you need, if still something's not happening, then you seek out an attorney. And then what? Are you documenting everything the whole time? You both said keep great notes, Julian.
Yeah. I think the one thing I'll just emphasize is you've got to exhaust your internal remedies, which means you can't just call Sharika.
Right.
But you can call her and she may say, okay, I'll guide you through this process. Go to HR, make sure you're doing all your documentation, but you can't skip steps, which is why she mentioned the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So you've got to go, and then you have to file it with them. And there's a number of steps in the process. But a good lawyer can walk you through that, but make sure you're utilizing your internal remedies, even if they don't work. And a lot of times HR, is a lot of times sometimes there to protect your employer.
Right.
And
not you necessarily.
Yep. But you've still got to utilize them. So my recommendation is always to utilize those internal remedies as well.
Because that could come back and bite you, right? Well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do that.
That's what I was going to follow up on. In fact, before, when I have a client, and if I understand that it's outside that 180-day window, what I ask them? Did you file an EEOC complaint?
Right.
Did you give your employer some notice? Now, there are certain claims that fall outside of the EEOC and outside of Title VII. But for recovery purposes, and people like to talk, and people come to you, they want to talk money. For monetary purposes, you want Title VII. Okay. Attorney's fees, just the punitive damages. So you want to follow and abide by and make your claim known. Also, it makes you look more credible.
Right.
I can't tell you how many people I've had, and I had to get on them too. They want to come tell me later that they've been called the N-word. Or something like that at work. You should have told me. They're holding back. I can't assist you if you don't want to help yourself. You gotta help me help you.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of the matter. I can't help you if I don't know the whole story.
Right.
And Julian's laughing because he probably had some clients.
I've had some clients that if I would have known, and you find out in the discovery process that they maybe haven't been honest with you.
Yeah, you find out at a deposition or something like that. And it's like, you gotta help me help you.
Right. And you can't do your job if they don't give you everything needed to bake the cake, so to speak. You gotta have the eggs, the flour, the butter, the everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the right lawyer, and Trey, the right lawyer, and I think that's the other thing I tell folks is don't the lawyer that's telling you, oh, you've got a slam dunk and I'm gonna get you X, Y, and Z, run from that person, because they're lying and basically selling you a dream. A good attorney is gonna say, hey, I need to look at this. I can't promise any results. I'm gonna work as hard as I can for you. Like, that's giving you the real, because there's folks out here, unfortunately, in the field that will sell a lot of people a dream, and that's what I think, in my opinion, gives the profession a bad reputation at times as well.
Yeah. So, all right. So make, cover all your bases, go to EEOC, make sure you've got all your documentation, make sure you do document everything, every little thing.
Collect your emails.
Collect your email. Okay.
Collect your emails. Many states are one-party states. I can speak for North Carolina. It's a one-party state. So you can record somebody without their consent. I can't speak for South Carolina, but I do know in North Carolina, and there's Google will tell you, but those emails, that's black and white.
Okay.
Yeah. When people send you those nasty emails that are discriminatory, that right there can be, all the proof that you need. When you get in contact with an attorney, and Julian was touching on this too, you have to make sure you have a paper trail.
Right.
Or you want to make sure that you have a paper trail. And then you want to make sure that you have done everything that you needed, that you were required to do. And so in terms of paper trail, I'm not talking about laying this person out. Like when professional paper trail, you have to always put your mask on and know when to take it off.
Right.
And that's just with anybody. You put it on and you take it off.
Yeah.
And don't take it off on email, please.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to what Julian was saying about, you don't want to get put in a box. You don't want to get stereotyped. So be professional always. Just be professional always. Let the other person jump out of their bag. Don't let it be you, because they can, use everything like that against you.
And I'm gonna tell you something else, Trey. The nicer you are to people, the nicer you are to people, the more they'll show you their character.
Wow.
They will.
They're mad because you've not affected them. Yeah. Attorney Sharika Robinson has joined us. If we can throw up her information. If you need more information about Sharika, SharikaRobinsonLaw.com, please go to her website, contact her, and she will be able to answer any of your questions. If you do have a discrimination question, please contact Sharika, and I'm sure she'll be glad to talk to you. Sharika and I actually talking, Julian, about doing a monthly session.
That'd be awesome.
On just this kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to talking to Sharika in the next couple of days, so that we can do this type of topic every month, so that you can get the information you need, the answers you need. She'll help you through the process, because folks are going through this and don't know what to do. And of course, Julian Williams, the VP of Diversity and Inclusion at USC, brand new position. He is going to be doing some amazing things over at Carolina. We look forward to it. And I want you to come back too, because I want to talk to you about kind of what's happening at USC and how you guys are breaking down some of those barriers and really helping to not only recruit African-American students, but once you get them, then you can, make sure that they are having a great experience. Jenna Jennings Boykin says, thanks, kudos to your informative guest. Yeah, thank you, Jenna. That you both have given some great information, because again, it's an emotional process. And sometimes we think not with our head, we think with our emotions, and we are an emotional people. Anyway, and tell Mrs. Riggins, Sharika, we're sorry we couldn't get her on. She's right there in the queue, right there. She kept freezing. And we can't get her on again. So, all right. Thank you both again so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. We've got your information again. If we can put up Sharika and Julian's information again, please be sure to contact Sharika and contact Julian there, SharikaRobinsonLaw.com, if you want more information. And then, of course, Julian Williams with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. He's the VP over at USC. Thank you guys again so very much.
Thanks so much, Trey. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Now that you know how to get in touch with them, please go over to my professional page, Tailor Made Productions. Please like and share that page, so not only you can watch Coping with COVID Monday through Saturday at 2 p.m., you can also get all of your COVID-related updates. Listen, if you have a story that could help someone cope with COVID, please go to the Tailor Made Productions page and inbox us so that we can find out how you can be a part of Coping with COVID. If you have a story or a product or a service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email the copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com, copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. It should be scrolling at the bottom. And let's talk about how you could be a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, along with the SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections. Want to say hi to everyone who is watching us on YouTube. We are streaming on YouTube, so please go over to the YouTube page where you can find all of the episodes of Coping with COVID. They are updated daily. Please like and share the Coping with COVID YouTube page. I'm Tre Tailor, and as always, I leave you with your reading of Jesus Calling. Today is August the 20th, and I'm just going to read a little bit because this is a little long one. It says, I am God who heals. I heal broken bodies, broken minds, broken hearts, broken lives, and broken relationships. Woo. My very presence has immense healing powers. You cannot live close to me without experiencing some degree of healing. However, it is also true that you have not because you ask not. You receive the healing that flows naturally from my presence, whether you seek me or not. But there is more, much more available to those who ask. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Thursday, August 20th. Hey, don't forget tomorrow, it's Faith Friday, and my good friends Laverne and Cynthia Williams from the International Dream Center will join us. Those folks have been together since we were in high school, and they have lived and loved and are building a wonderful Fellowship of Christ. I'm so proud of them. I love them so much, and I can't wait to talk to them and for you to talk to them tomorrow. Veronica and Laverne Williams. And then Saturday, we're going to be on location at Rare Variety Cafe, Saturday at 2:00. Join me as we taste some delicious food, vegetarian food, plant-based food from Rare Variety Cafe. That and more coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace, abundant blessings. Please stay safe, wash your hands, and don't forget to wear your mask.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping